everybody. Welcome on back to Fantasy Football Futures. I'm Tyler. This is Tim.
How's it going?
Literally almost just said I'm Tim. This is Tyler.
Nice.
Today's Friday, November 19th, Week 11, Fantasy Football. And we're here to do our Part 2 of Week 11 matchups and previews, and then give starts and fades this week. But kind of some bombshell news going on right now in the NFL, so we'll go ahead and jump in that. There's a lot of people out, a lot of key players out this week. Starting with Kamara, he's out. Hopkins, out again, third week in a row. Then you got Elijah Mitchell, who was downgraded to doubtful this week. So those three guys, all number one players for their team, all out, so that's something to keep an eye out for. Kyler still hasn't been, it's not updated that he's playing, so the Cardinals, there's still optimism there for them, but right now it's just a lot. Chris Carson, it was an update today that he is out for the year as well. He's going to have season-ending surgery on his neck, so that's not good for the Chris Carson owners, but if you're lucky enough to have Alex Collins, it looks like he's going to be stepping up as the number one guy there in Seattle. Which, I mean, it's not great because Seattle's run offense isn't great, but they're all out as of this week. A bunch of Steelers players are out on defense, so that's a huge factor. Who else? I feel like there's one. Nick Chubb activated. He's back. And then you got Cam Newton named starting quarterback this week. Was there any other injuries that we missed?
He's got Amari Cooper. Aaron Jones is officially out.
Yep. Amari Cooper, COVID, he's out this week now because of that. Aaron Jones is official. He's still doubtful to play, so he's more than likely he's not going to play this week, which I feel like you kind of saw coming.
And then McNichols is out for the Titans.
Then McNichols out with a concussion, so that means it's going to be Foreman and Peterson, and kind of like what we talked about yesterday, probably more Foreman than anybody. So that's something to keep an eye on. I feel like pass-wise, pass catcher out of the backfield, you're looking at Foreman over Peterson as well. So Foreman against the bad Texans teams looking like the move here. You got a lot of people out, a lot of players you're going to have to work to sub in. Just something to keep an eye out for, really. It's going to be disappointment week here for a lot of people who have all these big names. Is James Robinson playing? For some reason, I feel like I read something that he might be out.
I thought he was questionable. Let's see.
I know he's questionable still from his heel.
It says questionable. He's dealing with a new heel injury this week, but he was able to practice on a limited basis.
So that's something to keep an eye out for here for him. Then just a lot to look forward to, a lot to keep in mind here going on out. But really, just keep an eye on those waiver wires because, I mean, like Jeff Wilson, he's going to be a big pickup. He's a key role. I know, he's a one running back I think you can trust. Out of 49ers backfield, he was the number 3 to start the year. So you got him, Foreman, Peterson. I think Foreman's the lead one there. And then who else do we have here? And then Daryl Williams. He's probably playing. I know Edwards clearly said had a good week of practice, but they haven't activated him.
I think they're kind of looking for next week or even week 13 to finally have him back.
So that is all the news for this week. Kind of wrapping up here the last couple days before this final practices and everything for anybody. So if more than likely if they're not out now, they're going to be playing later. Were you shocked about Cam? I know we talked a little bit, but were you shocked a little bit about Cam Newton being the starting quarterback?
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised because I think it went pretty well last week with P.J. Walker and then in the red zone and different opportunities bringing in Cam Newton. So should be interesting to see when he's playing the whole game if their offense is still going to be pretty good. It will have McCaffrey, so I expect that
that's what I think anybody would.
Through.
So here's the thing. You're looking at the worst team. We'll go ahead and just jump into matchups because this is the first one we have here. Okay, so we'll jump into our Week 11. This is Part 2. If you missed our first half of the games, that's on our episode that we had before this, so go check that out. As long as with some college football picks of this Saturday, go check them out. But the first game here that they have on our Week 11 matchup is Washington at Panthers. With the Washington football team being the 32nd team defensively against quarterbacks, meaning like they're the worst at giving up points to quarterbacks. Is he a start for you, baby?
I think in those deeper leagues he is. Cam Newton has been, last year he was terrible for the Patriots. Didn't have that they didn't have that great of an offense. That team was not good. I think you have a little bit more weapons, and if you can use Cam Newton through Christian McCaffrey, I think Cam Newton might actually be kind of dangerous this week. And I'm not saying you start him over those big name guys, but if you're in those 12, 14 team leagues, I think Cam Newton is definitely a start.
Okay, so if you're looking, let's hypothetical here, you have Cam Newton and you're looking at maybe a guy like Derek Carr or even Kirk Cousins this week. Out of those three, who are you kind of picking from to start?
Honestly, I think I still would go Kirk Cousins over all of them. But then I think I might take a chance on Cam Newton over Derek Carr. I think the Raiders are they're trying to figure it out. They are favored against the Bengals. It's going to be interesting to see if they have a bounce back week because they really need it right now. Both teams do, actually, the Bengals and the Raiders. But I think Cam Newton might be a little bit of a safer play because you've seen Derek Carr have some really good games, some really bad games.
That's what I was I feel like between all three of them, you have a huge ceiling with Cam solely because of the touchdown aspect he's going to bring to the game. He is going to run some especially with McCaffrey. You can do a lot of play action, a lot of read offense with him, which changes everything for a team trying to defend that. He's just a big body back there. So, like I said, I think Cam Newton, he can be a start just because of he might score 2 touchdowns with his legs this week. Anytime they're within the 5, he's got a chance to run the ball in, and it's something to keep an eye out for. So, Panthers-wise, you're starting McCaffrey. It's no doubter. You got the football team who's 19th against running backs. They're also 31st against wide receivers.
Yeah.
Not great. So if you're looking at it, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, you kind of picking one over the other, or you think you're throwing both out there right now?
I'm just doing DJ Moore. You have one good game from Robbie Anderson, but there's 9 other games where Robbie Anderson has been terrible. I know it's a good matchup, and you might have to play Robbie Anderson. You don't really have a chance to sit him, but I would go to DJ Moore. I expect DJ Moore to have a bounce back week this week.
That's why I feel like it's overdue for DJ Moore right now. I feel like you're holding on to him. He's still getting 8 targets, 9 targets a week, and he's their deep ball. He's their best receiver on the team. The only thing I guess you could worry about is you saw the connection Cam and Robbie Anderson had at the end of the game, and that could worry you just see like he might rely on Robbie a little bit more. But I think Cam knows that it needs to be DJ Moore. Robbie Anderson, you can play him in if you're 2 flex league and you're needing someone, I'd throw him in there just because of the fact of the matchup. It's so bad. And he could be a guy that maybe he finds his groove that he had last year with Cam. So, to me, it's something to think about there. But really, it's just Panthers, they have great matchups. I feel like you're playing McCaffrey more for sure. Cam, depending who your quarterback is, he could be a flex play because of what he can do with his feet and scoring touchdowns. So that's an option. But then you look on the other side of the ball, you got the Panthers defense, who is a top 5 in the NFL this year, which, this is what we forgot. Ricky Seals-Jones for the football team, who's been a solid backup to Logan Thomas, is out this week, which, to me, I feel like it hurts him a little bit, but I don't think it hurts him too much. But you got the Panthers, who are 3rd against giving up points against quarterbacks, 5th against running backs, and 4th against wide receivers. It's a tough matchup for Heineke, coming off a big win against the Bucs at home, and they have to go to Carolina. So to me, I think the only play here really is possibly Terry McLaurin.
Yep. I think those defensive numbers are kind of screwed for the Panthers just because of how easy their schedule was at the beginning of the season. I think there's been teams that are able to score on the Panthers defense. Nonetheless, it is pretty good, and I would be starting the Panthers defense this week. But yeah, I think right now I'm just going McLaurin. Antonio Gibson, he's just not playing. I don't know if he's playing hurt or he's.
He had the 2 touchdowns last week, which saved this week.
Yeah, he was on the field more, 63%. He got those 2 touchdowns, had 24 attempts. So it finally looks like he's back. But against this Panthers defense, I think that they are pretty good against the run, even against the better teams. So McLaurin's my number 1 guy that I'm going to, and I think you start Gibson, but I think there's better options out there, I'll say that.
That's what, to me, I feel like this week, if you're looking at Gibson and you can maybe flex in a guy like Daryl Williams instead, I think you're flexing in Williams and you're sitting Gibson because Gibson just, the Washington football team has been so up and down this year, and with Heineke and everything, it's tough to see. I know James Conner had a solid week last week, so you can kind of look at that and be like, oh, Panthers aren't that great on the ground. Mm-hmm. But I just don't think Antonio Gibson is – I still don't think he's 100% healthy. It's a factor to think about. But like I said, he's a guy that you're kind of 50-50 against. Me personally, I'm kind of down on Gibson right now, and I would not play him against the Panthers at home coming off solely because of the big win that they had last week against the Bucs. So –
expect a down week from the football team.
Ron Rivera going back to Carolina. So, I mean, that could also be a favor in Washington to kind of see what happens there. But I'll be interested. I think this game could be very boring or it could be a really close game. Mm-hmm. I think Panthers end up winning, though, at the end.
I think so, too.
But, yeah, so it's pretty much – so McLaurin and Gibson could be a flex play just depending on what you have. Mm-hmm. And then you're looking at, you got DJ Moore and McCaffrey, no doubters. Robbie Anderson is a late low flex, like how deep is your league kind of thing. And then Cam Newton, I think you take the whole risk of playing him because you want him to score touchdowns. So that's something to keep an eye out for there. And that's rounds out our first one. Let's go to our second matchup then here. We got the 49ers at Jacksonville Jaguars. 49ers, huge week last week. Just destroyed the Rams. Debo has just been doing things that you did not expect. Steal of the draft, possibly. You know how, like, Diggs was a league winner last year for a lot of people?
Yeah,
that's
I think
Debo
this
year.
100%.
But to me, I think Debo he's putting up more numbers than what Diggs was. Because he's getting 2 touchdowns a game. He's getting a touchdown.
He's getting these passes where they just give him the ball and let him do.
He's an athlete.
Diggs is more deep passes. It's Samuel where it's short routes, it's slants, it's just getting him the ball in the open field and letting him run.
Yeah, and you're looking at a Jags defense who they're not as bad as you kind of expected. They're middle of the road for everything of giving up points besides tight end. But I think Debo, it's a no-brainer. You're playing him. 49ers running back, the Jaguars are 15th against giving up points to running backs. There, you're looking at Jeff Wilson. If you have Elijah Mitchell and you need to play Jeff Wilson, it's a plug-and-play. And hopefully he can perform, have one backup game, and just go off kind of thing. But I don't know, 49 running back, I'm kind of going to stay away if I can. But I think we've seen George Kittle kind of come back from his injury and look like his old self these past 2 weeks. So, I don't know. Kittle, their Jags are 23rd against tight end. So I think Kittle is a huge play this week if you got him. And really, the other side of the ball, Robinson, if he plays, is a no-brainer. 49ers actually 20th of giving up points to running backs. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But you're looking at that. I mean, you got Marvin Jones Jr. Is he just a flex play just in case because of who they have as receivers in Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think Marvin Jones always has been, always will be just a flex play. Just because you can't have those great games of 2 touchdowns, and he just gets loose sometimes. But then you also have to go for where he might get 2 points.
Yep.
It's very insane to me. No matter where Marvin Jones goes, he kind of has the same outcome each year. So I would play Marvin Jones if I had him. I would play him if you're especially in a 2 flex, he'd be my second flex this week. Because you've seen the 49ers give up points. I think the 49ers are hot right now. So I'm actually playing I'm playing Jeff Wilson. I do like that matchup. Going to be interesting to see how much they get from the ball and if they kind of put in Sermon and Cannon and all them, or if it's just all going to be Jeff Wilson. That's something.
Yeah, I kind of feel like when you're a backup running back, you kind of get leaned on more, and you're pretty much a solo guy. It's not like if Zeke were to go down, they're not giving it to Pollard, and then they're not doing 60-40 with Pollard, whoever. It's probably more 80-20 to the next guy because it really goes down to who do you trust with the football, who do you trust to make the right decisions, who do you want to win this game, and to me that's really where you look at it. It's Jeff Wilson. Do they trust him that much more than maybe Trey Sermon or JaMychal Hasty? So to me, it comes down to that. And I like Wilson here too. My next one though is tight ends for Jacksonville. They have Dan Arnold. Over the last 3 games, he's had 10, 7, 8 targets, and he's a player that Urban Meyer and the Jaguars are getting involved quickly in. Do you play him against this 49ers defense?
I would. For some reason, Dan Arnold, he's been thrown in there, and he's been doing great with Trevor Lawrence since he got traded there. I think how the tight ends have been this year, you've had your top 2 with Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. Other than that, it's been up and down all year. It's been really tough, so you're trying to find that tight end. And I think Dan Arnold gives you consistency. I think you're not going to have the big game like George Kittle could, but you're going to get 10 points from Dan Arnold, and that's going to be plenty enough to get a top 5, top 7 finish.
You're looking for a touchdown out of Arnold, and that's pretty much it. And that can take you to a 15-point week, which is more than enough for a tight end. So, that's what you're looking at. Kittle, Debo, Wilson as well as a play this week, and then you're also going to throw in, I think, Robinson, Arnold for sure, and then Marvin Jones could be that flex play if you absolutely need him. Just because, this game can get out of hand fast, and then it turned into a passing. So that's just something to keep an eye out for. But I think those guys are the main ones to look at in this game. And I think Dan Arnold is a sneaky play because they traded their first-round pick, and they gave up like a third for Dan Arnold. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out there. But you think Jacksonville has a chance to pull off a crazy upset?
I do not, but I think you might actually be a little surprised how much they stick around.
Oh, that's what they've done all year.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the line is, but I don't expect this to be a blowout. I think the 49ers will come down to earth a little bit, but I expect the 49ers to win because they pretty much got to keep winning if they want to have a chance in that division or make the wild card. There are 7 teams, so the 49ers are still in it.
Yep. So that's 49ers Jags. Let's move into Bengals at the Raiders here. Both teams need a win. This is a pretty big, you need a win here. Raiders have lost 2 in a row. Bengals coming off a bye week and a butt whooping against the Browns. So they're trying to get back into stride. Raiders, too much drama going on there. But I think this is a game Bengals come back and they start doing whatever. Raiders defense, 23rd against quarterbacks, so you're looking at Joe Burrow to have a huge week. 25th against running backs, 6th against wide receivers, and then 31st against tight ends, Raiders defense. So I think you're starting, obviously, T. Higgins. Joe Mixon's out to have a huge week, I think. Burrow as well. And then you're looking at, I think this is one of those weeks for Uzama to have a huge performance. We've seen him have big games and then bad games, but I think this is streaking towards a big game because of how bad the Raiders are at stopping tight ends.
Yep. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So we'll talk about Uzama is going to be one of my must starts this week. We'll talk more about that later. But yeah, I love Joe Mixon. When he's staying healthy, he's been really, really good fantasy play. So you're definitely starting him. Jamar Chase, Higgins, Boyd. I kind of put him in that Marvin Jones. If you have to play him, if you're in those deeper leagues, I would. But other than that, I don't think I'm touching. I'm keeping Tyler Boyd just on the bench.
Tyler Boyd, I know from the past he's been a solid play, but on this team he's the third option. And I think this kind of, it's unfortunate for him. He could probably go somewhere and be the number 2 somewhere, but this team he's the number 3, and we've seen his numbers show that. He's not getting a lot of work. He did have a good week when Jamar was out, I think, and Higgins was out, and he became the number 2 again. So I expect Chase to have a huge game this week. Raiders are 6 against the pass, but I feel like that's against wide receivers points-wise. I don't see them stopping Burrow and Chase this week, so that's something to keep off for. Bengals defense is 15th against quarterbacks, 24th against running backs, 14th against receivers, and 9th against tight ends. Here, I think the best play. You're obviously going to throw Waller out there because the potential, the ceiling is so high with him. Mm-hmm. But I think Jacobs is a strong running back 2 option this week.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Jacobs is going to have one of those weeks where he goes for 2 to 3 touchdowns. I think that's how the Raiders are going to beat the Bengals. It's not going to be through the air. It's going to be running the ball. Mm-hmm. So I think Jacobs will be the play. I'm not a Kenyon Drake fan, but for some reason, if you're in a deep league, he could be one of those plays too. Just because I think the Raiders are just going to go back to running the ball, dump off the running back. I think there's going to be a lot of that by the Raiders. So I think Jacobs is a great play this week.
That's why, to me, it's you got to rely to take some of the pressure off Carr. And just last week, he was just making throws that were he's just throwing lollipops up there, just praying that somebody comes down with it. And I think this week they got to try to establish the run more, which is a big term a lot of coaches are doing this year. We're going to establish the run. We're going to do this and do that. So that's what I think needs to happen. So for this game, it's like Jacobs for sure, and then Waller, and then really you're just your normal Bengals starters who you're going after. But I think Uzama's a big play this week, and it's definitely one that you have to look and throw it in your lineup, and you have to take the risk. It's a high risk. Well, like high risk, low reward, or high risk, high reward, or high risk, low reward. Just it is. He's either going to get you 4 or 20. Yep. And that's just how his year's gone. So that is the Bengals at the Raiders. Next, I think a lot of people. This is probably game of the week for everybody. Cowboys at the Chiefs. This game is going to be huge. I think there's gonna be a lot of points scored.
Yep, it's 56 right now is the over/under. So I think you're starting both quarterbacks. 100%. You're starting both top wide receivers. You're starting both tight ends.
And I think CeeDee Lamb. Tight ends, especially with the news of Cooper being out. Yep. Schultz has jumped up a little bit more, I think. Michael Gallup has become a bigger play.
I think Gallup's a start too this week.
Wilson, he could be an option. And then you got Tyreek, obviously. Do you think Daryl Williams is a strong play here this week?
So this is what I say. If for some reason Clyde plays, I'm not playing either or. Because I think it's going to be more 50-50. And it's going to be tough to just predict who will get in the end zone or anything. But if Clyde is out, I think Daryl Williams is a must start this week.
That's what, to me, this is where I'm not. We saw the Broncos run all over the Cowboys 2 weeks ago. Last week they played the Falcons, couldn't really do much.
And then because Patterson got hurt, and then Mike Davis is a bum.
And then you got Daryl Williams, and the only thing that worries me about Daryl Williams this week, Chiefs defense has made a little bit of a turn with their defense, but it's nothing great. Cowboys are the number 1 scoring offense in the league. If Cowboys are scoring at will, I think Chiefs say, screw the run, we're going against pass. We're going to throw the ball, we're going to keep up. We have Patrick Mahomes. I want to see if you can stop Tyreek, Travis Kelce, which a lot of teams have done this year. But to me, it's just, I don't know. Daryl Williams, I think if Clyde's not playing and what we saw last week, you play him. But you caution on the side that he might not have a huge game just because of that they can't stop the Cowboys.
Yep.
So, I don't know. This game, I think it's going to be close, scoring-wise.
Yep, it's only 2.5 points. But we also thought about this with the Chiefs and the Titans, and that was not a high-scoring game. But I think the Chiefs turned a new leaf. I think this is the one. I honestly think this is... last week I was like, can't wait to bet against the Chiefs. I think they might actually win this game because that's going to get them in the right direction of.
I think you saw a little bit more of the Chiefs' offense kind of click last week than what we've seen all year.
Yep.
And then maybe that's what they need right here. If they beat the Cowboys, it's watch out. Everybody else,
Yep.
Chiefs might be back. So that is a big game. You're playing everybody, no doubt. And like we said, Michael Gallup could be a huge play this week because of Amari being out
Yep, 100%.
so late. And then Schultz has kind of been down the last couple of weeks. They're not usually utilizing him, but
I'll be starting him this week.
yeah, they're 26 against tight ends.
Yeah.
Chiefs are. So to me, it's you might be playing him. So that was Cowboys at Chiefs. No surprise really on who you're playing there. Cardinals at Seahawks here. Cardinals without Hopkins again, possibly without Kyler Murray. You're looking at a Seahawks team who's banged up, and clearly you're starting Metcalf, you're starting Russ. If Kyler plays, you're starting Kyler. And I think James Robinson has worked himself, or James Conner has worked himself into a RB2 position,
Yep.
running back right now. He has 11 touchdowns on the year, which is crazy. So, are there any Cardinals wide receivers you're looking at that you think are going to have a huge week this week?
To be honest, I don't love the wide receivers, but I'm 100% starting Christian Kirk. I think he's going to have I don't know exactly what he did last week, but he had 8 targets last week, and with Hopkins being out, he's had at least 6 targets every game. I just think he just needs to find the end zone, maybe just a little bit unlucky. So I expect that to happen. And then I think AJ Green could be a good start as well. He gets more of the red zone targets and everything like that. So I don't love those two, but I think those are 2 good starts.
That's what I was thinking. Christian Kirk's definitely a flex play,
Yep.
no doubt. You're going to plug him in, and hopefully something happens. But like James Conner has become the best running back story for them, so he's a must start. Seahawks wise, we come back to our good old boy Tyler Lockett. Do you think this is a game you're starting, or are we looking elsewhere? And then, with the Cardinals real fast, what about Zach Ertz? Are you playing him? Seahawks are 15th against tight
I'm
end.
playing Zach Ertz. I think the Cardinals have been using their tight ends with Ertz, and before that, when they had Max Williams, they're using him a lot. So I'm playing Zach Ertz. This week, I think I'm playing Tyler Lockett. When he scores those big points, it's against bad defenses, against wide receivers. And Arizona's been not the best against wide receivers, so I think this is the week Tyler Lockett is going to score quite a bit of points. He had 8 targets last week, only had 2 catches, so I don't expect that to slow down at all.
That's why I feel like this is a game where the Seahawks get a roll. It's in Seattle. Yep. I feel like this is coming up for a game for Seattle to win.
I feel upset right here. This is a Seattle win.
To me, it's looking like it's a game where Russ, DK, and Lockett have huge performances. So, I don't know. Lockett, I feel like you play him in hopes that he has one of those huge weeks. Mm-hmm. So, that's Cardinals, that's Seahawks, and then we got Steelers, Sunday night matchup, Steelers at the Chargers. This is, to me, if Big Ben does not play, you're like clearly starting Najee. And Deontay Johnson, I think, has worked himself into a year start no matter what. But to me, the wide receiver to keep an eye out for is James Washington. Him and Mason Rudolph played college football together. He seemed to be the favorite target last week with Mason Rudolph in there against the Lions. So he's the one that I think you need to watch for. And he might be a pick and play to put in your flex this week. So... and is Claypool back or not?
He is.
So if Claypool's back, it might change that a little bit, but I don't know. He really had a security blanket in James Washington last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had 8 targets, was on the field like 80% of the time. That was because Claypool's out, so I expect that to go down a little bit. But I think whatever's working for the Steelers, that they just have to keep going with it. Like you said, I think Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson are must-starts. To be honest, I'm not playing Claypool. No. I think he's been disappointing before he got hurt, and now he's just coming off injury. So I'm not expecting him to do much in this game. And then I just think this is going to be a big Najee Harris game. The Chargers are not good against the run. I know the offensive line is not good for the Steelers. So something's got to give, but I think Najee's going to get the ball a lot here and just trying to do much. Because that Chargers defense altogether hasn't been as good as people thought it would be, but especially against the run. So I think Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris are good. What are you doing with Freiermuth?
I'm playing him. Chargers are 29th against tight ends. They've allowed 7 touchdowns, 2 tight ends. So I think this is a week. You saw Freiermuth targeted in the end zone. Last week he had 6 catches, and he had a fumble, I think, last week, too, which was a killer to his points. So I think he's becoming a start kind of guy because of the red zone threat that he brings.
Yep. He had 9 targets last week, only 5 catches. So, and he just couldn't find the end zone.
No, he was targeted. Before.
Yeah, so I believe Freiermuth is a very, very good start this week.
That's what Freiermuth is definitely going to be a must-start kind of guy. I think going off matchups sometimes, but until Big Ben, I think even with Big Ben or Mason Rudolph, Freiermuth is the guy they're looking for in the red zone. So I'm starting him no matter what. Then you look on the other side of the ball, you got the Chargers. Steelers are 20th against wide receivers, and really that's all you got to worry about. I think you're looking, it's Eckler for sure, Herbert no doubt. Cook could be an option here, but he's been super disappointing. He's not the Hunter Henry, not even close to what we wanted with Hunter Henry.
From Jared Cook. I can't. He's like the matchup. I think is good. It just he just has been used and just nothing's been happening.
Yeah. So to me, it's a tough play. Jared Cook hasn't. He's just been like you look at Hunter Henry last year and you think Jared Cook should be able to replicate that. Not even a little bit. Not even close. So you got that. Keenan Allen play for sure. Mike Williams is what weeks like 1 through 6. He was averaging 20 points a game.
Yeah, he's
the last 3 weeks he's been about.
He's been the old Mike Williams, and it's been pretty tough to watch. He's been on the field just as much, like 80 to 90%. He's getting 5 to 6 targets. It's just not happening in the end zone anymore. So I'm playing him because of what you've seen him do at the beginning of the season, because it might just get that, but it's not. I don't feel great about playing him though.
The only thing that I think might help here with Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Herbert, you got T.J. Watt out. You got a couple other Steelers defensive players out this week, which really only benefits Justin Herbert's passing game. The pass rush won't be there like it has been with T.J. Watt in there. So you're looking at Mike Williams. I think this might be a game he comes back and he beats someone over the top. Because Steelers are smart enough, they're going to try to take out Keenan Allen, I think. So to me, Mike Williams is definitely a play. Keenan Allen's the play for sure. Jared Cook, we're both no thank you with him. Steelers-wise, it's the main 3, and I think James Washington's a sneak play out of that. So let's go ahead and move into our last matchup here, Monday Night Football, Giants at Bucks. Tough matchup here, I think. Buccaneers come back hot. They're going to come back for vengeance. They lost the last 2 weeks, right? Yeah. Not great. You're clear with Brady. I expect him to have a huge bounce back week. I think Mike Evans has a solid week this week again with AB probably not playing. Godwin, you're always any Buccaneers receiver you're playing. You're doing it no matter what. And there was a report today that Gronk is expected to play. So you're playing him too. I think even coming off injury, Giants are 15th against tight end, but Tom Brady loves Gronk down in the red zone.
Yeah, I expect the Bucks come out, going to be firing on all cylinders. I'm playing Evans, Godwin, Brown, just like you said. I'm playing all the Bucks offense. Tom Brady, I think it's going to be a bounce back week. Nothing really to add to that.
Fournette too. The Giants are 26 against running back.
And the Bucks been using Fournette a lot in the passing game and in the running game, and it hasn't been Ronald Jones at all. Maybe a little bit of Bernard here and there, but it's all been Leonard Fournette. So I like starting any Bucks near player you can. Going to the Giants side, if Barkley's playing, I'm starting Barkley. You just got to start him, and hopefully he's back to fully healthy.
2-3 years ago, Barkley, yeah.
Wide receivers, I'm not fans of the Giants wide receivers, but the Buccaneers are not that great against wide receivers.
No.
I would play Tony, but I do not like Galladay at all. Just never been a fan of him, so I'm sitting him. The only one I would play would be Tony if you have to play.
I think you're starting Tony. Even Evan Ingram might be a play here this week because of the Bucks are not great against tight ends. They're 20th, and to me, it's just I think with Vita Vea coming out, getting hurt, it changes everything for that Bucks run stop defense, and you might see Devontae Booker or Barkley, whoever's playing, kind of maybe have a better running role than what we've seen in the past against the Bucs. So that's something to keep an eye out for this week. I think you could play them, hopefully thinking that Vita Vea is he's a 350-pound man, just eats up blocks. So I think he's a key factor to that run defense, and without him, it's going to be tough for them. So I like Booker or Barkley, and then I really like Evan Ingram, and I think Tony, he's a flex play because of how bad they are and just what he can do if he gets the ball. So outside of that, that's all we have here. That's our Week 11 preview. Part 2, yep, so go check out Part 1 if you missed it. Now let's do we each come up with a start and fade for this week. We did one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end. My start for quarterback this week is Joe Burrow against the Raiders. I think they're coming off a bye, need a big win. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals put up some points this week, so I like Joe Burrow.
I like Joe Burrow too. They just need that comeback. They look so good, and then they're coming off a bye now. He can still relax a little bit and just kind of got a little bit of a break, come back to reality. I think it's going to be a good game against the Raiders. I think a lot of points are going to be scored in that game.
100%.
And so my must-start quarterback is actually going to be Ryan Tannehill, playing against a really bad Texans team. I know you kind of have to worry about Tannehill, maybe if they go up by a lot and then they're just going to be running the ball. Haven't been seeing that much in the NFL. Teams have been kind of just like they keep going. They don't stop. And also with the running back situation, not great running backs back there. So I expect Ryan Tannehill to have a good game. He also runs the ball, so you might be able to get 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns in there as well.
That's what he's sneaky. He can sneakily get points on his feet. That's one thing you think, like, you wouldn't think with Henry, he's not scoring, but there's so much emphasis on the run game in Tennessee. They do that read option play or the naked bootlegs, and he's just always open scoring. So I like that play. I think they're going to put up a lot of points early, and I think it'll be mostly through the air. Yep. So that's what I like this week. Let's go to our running back must starts. Then I'm actually going to change mine. I had James Robinson, but I'm going to flip it to James Conner.
It's mine as well.
Okay. Then I'll stick with James Robinson. So we both have James. Okay?
Yeah.
I think James Robinson, even with the little heel injury, he's the best player on the Jaguars. And 49ers struggle a little bit against the run, so I like James Robinson to be the focal point of the Jags defense.
Okay. I think so.
Offense.
I'll change mine too because I think we can both say that James Conner is a must start.
Yeah.
Just because of, especially when Edmonds is out. He's been full. But I also like James Robinson against the 49ers. When he's healthy, he's that go-to for that offense. Even when the Jaguars are bad.
Which
James
makes
Robinson
no sense to me why they drafted.
Does ETN.
I don't know.
We'll go to my must-start running back now, and we talked about it earlier. I think if the Raiders want to win, and what they're going to do is they're going to run the ball. So I'm actually going with Josh Jacobs being a must-start this week. I expect them to just use him. Not a lot of passing, especially with Ruggs gone. That's kind of been a little weird. They used Waller 2 weeks ago, but then last week, just very disappointing. So I believe they're going to go back to what they were doing last year when they're successful by going through Josh Jacobs.
That's what I think. I agree. Like if they want any ounce of success, they have to get the ground game going to open up play action. And I think once you start running the ball, it opens Darren Waller up a lot more too. So to me, I like that play there. My wide receiver start this week is going to be Mr. Brandon Cooks versus the Titans. The only option for the Texans. And Tyrod Taylor being back, I think it helps them. It's going to be second game back, so a little bit different. But I think Brandon Cooks is a must start against a bad. Our Titans they're not bad, but he's the only option on a really bad team.
Yep. I like that. He gets a lot of targets, especially with Tyrod Taylor. They look like they have a better connection. And then so I 100% agree with that. What mine is actually going to be I think this guy's going to have a comeback week this week. I'm going with DJ Moore. I think with Cam Newton back there and against a very bad passing defense, I think DJ Moore is going to have a good game. The Washington defense just lost Chase Young as well, so it's not going to be that much pressure as it. I guess Chase Young's been kind of disappointing.
He's only had 1 sack up to last week, and so yeah, it's just been.
So I think it's going to be Panthers all day, and I think DJ Moore is going to score a touchdown and have a great game this week.
That's what I think he's due. I think it's coming around. It's just matter of fact, Sam Darnold finally out. He was terrible, and I think hopefully with the new emergence of Cam or even PJ, he gets in a rhythm and they get the ball out of their hands quickly and develop more plays for him. So I like that. And then my tight end start for this week is Dan Arnold because of his new involvement in this offense and how many targets. As a tight end getting 10, 7, 8, that's like you're looking at Kelsey Andrews type target numbers there. And he's on a bad team. And the 49ers they're not great against tight ends. So I like Dan Arnold here to continue to be involved in that offense and he'll be a consistent start this week and get you 10 plus.
100% with the Jags. It's pretty much been him and when James Robinson's been healthy, just them two being very consistent. So I love the Dan Arnold play. He was consistent when he was with the Panthers, came here and just did the exact same thing. My must-start tight end is going to be, we talked about earlier, is Uzomah for the Bengals. Raiders are terrible against the tight end. And I expect to see kind of a game, when the Bengals beat the Ravens. The Ravens were not good against tight ends then. I expect that kind of the same thing to happen. Maybe not that big of a game, but I expect a touchdown of Uzomah this week.
That's what, so yeah, I was between Arnold and Uzomah.
Uzomah.
I fully expect him to be involved in the offense this week. I feel like when he's scoring, they're winning. So to me, maybe that's something they got to figure out and who to play. So those were our starts for each position. Now let's just go run through some of our fades here. My number one fade quarterback is actually Kirk Cousins, who I've been pretty high on against with the Packers. But I feel like the Packers' pass defense is pretty solid, and I think you see that it be the Dalvin Cook show this week. And he finally kind of gets rolling, and so I like Dalvin Cook here. Kirk Cousins to be my fade against Packers.
Yep, I expect that too. I think it's going to be running the ball a lot or something. I don't know. The Packers their defense is a little bit different this year. It's a lot better. So I expect Kirk Cousins not to have.
I feel like he's going to put like a 12-point week up. He has an interception or a pick or something. So
yep, I agree with that. My favorite quarterback is actually going to be Carson Wentz. He's looked better this year, but it's still a little bit weird. And I think the Buffalo Bills are kind of want to roll off that win against the Jets, and so I think that defense is going to shut them down. I think if the only thing the Colts can stay in the game, it's going to be through Jonathan Taylor. It's not going to be through Carson Wentz.
The Bills' defense is the number one defense in the league right now, and they're just stopping people. And Carson Wentz, like I said, he looked bad last week, so kind of curious to see how he looks this week. So, running back fade here. So I actually have Antonio Gibson against the Panthers D, who's been pretty stout against the run, and I just think this is a game Panthers can get up quickly, and they both play very slow offenses, so it just might be a point to where the Panthers don't have a lot of time and they have to move the ball through the air and J.D. McKissick. So I'm fading Antonio Gibson this week.
Gibson's been kind of my fade the past few weeks, especially when he was hurt. It's just it's hard for him going. I think he's a good running back. I think it's just been a bad year, and I think it's going to be kind of that kind of way for him. So I like that. My sit is actually going to be Miles Sanders. I've never been a Miles Sanders fan. He's coming back, but they're playing a very, very good Saints defense that's very good against the run. So I think the Eagles, if they want to win this game, they're going to have to be passing the ball. I think that's going to go through Devante Smith and Jalen Hurts, and with Goddard as well. So I think it's going to be more of passing or rollouts with Jalen Hurts making him run the ball. And I think Miles Sanders is going to not have a big impact, or any of those running backs really, this week.
That's what I just feel like this is not the week to play Miles Sanders. First week off the bye, I would just hold off a little bit and kind of wait from there. But yeah, so my actually must sit this week is going to be Devante Smith against New Orleans.
Really?
I just think Marshawn Lattimore, very good cornerback, and I think this is a week the Saints get after the quarterback and Jalen Hurts, and I don't see Devante Smith being the main focal point. I think they're going to try to shut him down, and I'm fading Devante this week. I think he's had his last 2 weeks were great, but I just don't see it continuing this week.
Yeah, man. You're kind of just waiting for that to go back down a little bit. He had those 2 good weeks, didn't start
Can
him,
only hope.
and then now it's. I think if he has another good week now, I think you can say he's that number 1 wide receiver, and you almost have to play him.
I think
every
he
week.
should be the number 1 wide receiver
Yeah.
there. They don't have anybody else, but they're not going to.
Yeah. We talked about him earlier. My sit for wide receiver is actually be Claypool. Before he was injured, it just wasn't that good for him. He had like 1 or 2 good weeks all season. And I think week 5 he had 24 points. But other than that, he's been very disappointing. And then he got injured. And they're playing a Chargers team that defense hasn't been as good, but against wide receivers, they've actually been the best defenses in fantasy. So I think Claypool is a must-sit this week.
Coming off injuries is tough, especially if Mason Rudolph's playing. You never know what you're going to get out of them. So that's something to keep an eye out for there. To me, it's just Claypool. I feel like I don't know. I feel like they haven't figured out how they want to use him yet in that offense. And I don't think they will until Big Ben is gone. So to me, it's a question mark there. But my fade for this week is going to be. I'm gonna stick with that. Dallas Goedert. Saints are great against tight ends. They're they're tough to score against tight ends. Haven't done much. The Saints are the. Let me see. I just had the stat here. Where did it go? Here we go. They are 4th against tight ends. And Dallas Goedert coming off a concussion here. Just to me, it's a tough play. I just feel like the Eagles are going to struggle this week offensively because they won't be able to run the ball like they want to. So I think you look at the wide receiver core and Dallas Goedert to struggle. And that's why I'm taking him as I'm going to kind of fade this week just because of the head injury he had last week and who they're playing.
Yeah, it sounds like we're really going to be room for the Saints because we've had their running back, wide receiver, and tight end as our fade. So I think the Saints defense is legit. They're going to be I don't mind sitting Goddard. I think there's better.
The only thing, like I look at last week, Saints shut down A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is, to me, above and beyond what Devante Smith is right now. And Jalen Hurts is not anywhere near what Ryan Tannehill is, and the offense is very different. So I think it's a lot of they're going to force him to throw the ball a lot, and that's not what Jalen Hurts does well. And I think he gets rolling when the run game gets rolling. So, and I just don't see that happening right away. But, I mean, last year we saw Miles Sanders have huge performance against Saints, and they ended up beating them. But I don't know. I'm sticking without the Goddard and Sanders this week.
Gotcha. So my sit tight end, it's kind of tight ends because you kind of say any of them could be a fade. I'm actually going with Gerald Everett from the Seattle Seahawks. And a lot of people are not going to play him, but I say you for sure do not play him. Try to find a different tight end. Cardinals are the best defense against tight ends this season. For the points, I think they've only given up 37 points all season to tight ends. So I expect Gerald Everett to have not a good game at all, not get that touchdown. Yeah. So that one was a tough one, but that's what I'm going with this week.
Okay, so that was our Week 11 preview and our start and fade for this week that we think you guys should look at. But other than that, we will have our little pick'em episode come out after this one. But we appreciate all the support. If you're not yet subscribed on YouTube, please go check that out and hit subscribe and follow us on any accounts and keep up and just let us know any feedback works. But other than that, hope everyone has a successful week 2 with gambling as well.
Week 11.
Why did I say week 2? Holy cow. Week 11, and let's hopefully I lost everything right there. But yeah, appreciate everything. Deuces.
See ya.